So, if you take the cold, binary logic of a computer science algorithm and you just forcefully collide it with the raw, unpredictable chaos of human emotion.
You'd expect a total system failure. I mean, right.
Exactly. You'd expect them to not mesh at all. But occasionally, you get this fusion that is so incredibly precise, it creates something just entirely unprecedented.
Yeah, and it really forces us to rethink the boundaries of what a single person is actually capable of producing, when they stop separating the analytical mind from the artistic soul.
And that collision is exactly what we are unpacking for you today on this deep dive. We're looking at a super fascinating document, an excerpt from Chapter 4 of a manuscript titled The Making of a Legend.
Right, and it centers on Anant Sharma.
Yeah.
He's this 21-year-old computer science student at IIT Delhi who literally out of nowhere steps into the lead role of Major Vihaan Singh Shergill in the military film Eerie, the surgical strike.
Which is wild. And look, our mission today for you listening, it goes way beyond just, looking at behind-the-scenes movie trivia.
Oh, absolutely. We are basically deconstructing a case study in artistic transcendence here. We're looking at what happens when absolute, uncompromising obsession with the truth collides with literal technical genius.
Right, and how that specific combination literally altered the DNA of an entire film production. I mean, the details of this filmmaking process, they sound almost like fiction.
They really do.
But they give us this incredible window into the mechanics of peak performance. So let's take you straight to day one of principal photography.
Set the scene for us.
Okay, so it's before dawn. We are at a location just outside Mumbai that has been heavily modified to look like a military base. The director, Aditya Dar, is waiting by the monitors, and his lead actor walks onto the set for the first time.
Except the crew immediately realizes it's not an actor walking up to the monitors.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, the physical transformation is startling on its own, right? Anant had spent months sculpting his frame into this lean, very defined military power. But it's his bearing that actually stops the crew in their tracks.
Oh, like his posture.
Posture, but also just the purposeful, highly economical way he moves his body. You could see this constant tactical assessment happening in his eye movements, like he's constantly sweeping the environment.
Wow. And the costume designer standing nearby actually mutters to another crew member, like, he's not wearing the uniform, he's inhabiting it.
Inhabiting it, yeah, exactly.
Like the fatigues, the tactical vest, they don't look like wardrobe pieces anymore. They look like natural extensions of his own body.
Yeah. And Aditya, the director, he decides he wants to test the depth of this transformation immediately, right out of the gate with Anant's very first scene.
Which is a huge risk on day one.
It's an incredibly difficult scene to execute, especially cold. So Major Vihaan is recovering from a severe injury. He's standing on the sidelines, watching his unit train without him.
Right.
And there is zero dialogue in the script for this moment. It relies entirely on subtext.
So he literally has nothing to hide behind. It's just him, the camera, and the environment.
Precisely. He has to convey deep frustration, a fierce sense of determination, and this barely controlled aggression, all without uttering a single syllable.
And how does he do?
Well, Aditya calls action, and Anant simply disappears into the psychological reality of the character. You see the tension locking into his jaw. You see the way his hands clench and release with genuine physical ache.
Wow.
He delivers these tiny micro-expressions of pride mixed with pain. And he nails it perfectly in a single take. The crew actually breaks protocol and erupts into applause.
That is insane. It reminds me of the concept of embodied cognition.
Oh, say more about that.
Well, for you listening, it's like when an elite athlete enters the zone hours before a championship game. If you observe them in the locker room, they aren't like pretending to be a player getting ready. Their brain has physically shifted its operational state.
Right, yeah.
Their nervous system is already reacting to the field. And it sounds like Anant wasn't mimicking a soldier's frustration. He had rewired his physical responses to actually feel it.
That is the perfect psychological framework for it, honestly. His co-star, Yami Gautam, she was watching from the sidelines, and she described it as organic method acting.
Organic method acting. I like that.
Right, because he didn't break character between takes because there was no character to break. He simply stayed in Vihaan's operational headspace.
Which has to be a dream for the crew.
Oh, completely. Mitesh Mirchandani, the veteran cinematographer on the film, he noted why this kind of psychological commitment is such a rare gift. With standard actors, a cinematographer often has to work incredibly hard with lighting and angles to, artificially manufacture interest or gravity.
Right, to make it look dramatic.
Exactly. But with Anant, because he was emitting this real grounded emotional frequency, Mitesh said he could literally just point and shoot. The emotion did the work for the lens.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
But, internal emotional mastery is a huge feat in silence, sure. But internal conviction doesn't mean much if you can't project it outward, right?
That's the real test.
Yeah, the true test of a performance is whether you can take that internal truth and force an entire room of people to believe it too.
And that requirement brings us directly to the briefing room sequence. The stakes for this particular scene were just massive.
Oh, this is the famous one?
Yeah. Aditya Dar purposely wrote the dialogue to avoid standard Bollywood melodrama. He wanted to capture the grounded clinical reality of a real officer addressing real soldiers right before a high-stakes surgical strike.
And Anant prepared for this with his typical obsessive rigor.
Oh, yeah. He studied actual classified-level military briefings. He deconstructed exactly how commanding officers balance motivational energy with the absolute life-or-death seriousness of a combat mission.
Wow.
But then he made a highly unusual request for the casting of this scene. He insisted on mixing professional actors with actual masked special forces operators in the room.
Wait, real operators? Why?
Because by doing that, he completely altered the atmospheric pressure of the space. You're no longer just delivering lines for a camera lens. You are speaking to men who have actually lived through the horrors and the adrenaline of the reality you're trying to portray.
Oh man, the pressure.
Right. So the cameras roll. Anant is outlining the mission parameters with crisp, rigid military precision. Then comes the pivotal moment. The stoic officer's mask cracks just a fraction of an inch.
Yeah.
He genuinely needs to know, on a human level, that his team is with him. He looks at them and asks, "How's the Josh?"
And the room thunders back, "Hiya, sir."
Yes.
And the manuscript makes a very specific point to note that this wasn't just a scripted response from the extras. It was a visceral, involuntary reaction. Even the crew members behind the cameras felt their blood pressure spike.
It was electric.
But, okay, I want to challenge this narrative for a second, just to play devil's advocate for the listener.
Go for it.
Wait, I've seen great actors command a room before. I've seen incredible cinematic speeches. What makes this specific take a communion, as the manuscript calls it, rather than just a really compelling, well-rehearsed piece of acting?
That's a totally fair question. And the difference really lies in the collapse of the simulation.
What do you mean?
Well, the veteran actor Mohit Raina actually pulled Anant aside after they cut the cameras and explained exactly what happened. He told Anant, "You made everyone in this room believe, not believe you were acting, believe in the moment itself."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you have actual hardened special forces operators feeling the genuine stir of combat brotherhood from a 21-year-old civilian actor, you've crossed a threshold. That is a spiritual alignment.
Right. Anant wasn't trying to manufacture a cinematic highlight. He was trying to connect with the human beings in front of him.
Exactly. He wasn't playing a soldier. He was speaking to soldiers as one of them.
That is so powerful. But here is the pivot that makes this story truly extraordinary. Because Anant realized that protecting this raw human performance required controlling the cold, hard technology, capturing it, right?
Yes.
His pursuit of authenticity couldn't just stop when the director yelled cut.
And this is where we see his background as a top-tier computer science student at IIT Delhi really come into play. He begins to approach the technical side of the film production with the exact same obsessive rigor he brought to his acting.
Just wild.
He literally earns the nickname, the Renaissance Man, on set. So during a sequence that required highly complex nighttime lighting, Anant approaches the seasoned cinematography team with his personal laptop.
Wait, hold on. I need to pause you right there.
Yeah.
Film sets are notoriously rigid environments, right? They're highly hierarchical, ego-driven spaces. How does a 21-year-old rookie actor approach a veteran film crew and try to intervene in their technical workflow without getting laughed off the set or just completely shutting down production?
It's a great question, and it really comes down to his approach. He didn't approach them with demands or like an actor's ego. He approached them with a functional solution to a problem they were actively struggling with.
Okay.
He opens his laptop and shows the director of photography a custom machine learning algorithm he coded himself late at night in his trailer.
You're kidding.
No, it is a highly specialized color grading filter.
Okay, explain to us how this filter actually works mechanically. Like, what problem is it solving for them?
So in film, shooting night vision sequences is incredibly tricky. If you brighten the image to see the actors' faces, the background washes out and loses its cinematic tension.
Right.
But if you keep it dark, you lose the crucial micro-expressions of the performance. So Anant's algorithm was designed to analyze the footage frame by frame. It selectively boosted the luminance in the specific dark zones where human emotion was happening.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. While preserving the deep, crushing blacks of the shadows around them, it was professional-grade, proprietary software. The cinematography team was absolutely floored.
I bet.
Anand ended up freely mapping out the visual signature for the entire film. Stark, high-contrast aesthetics for combat, and warmer, richer tones for the emotional beats.
He is literally reprogramming the visual language of the movie.
Literally.
But his technical intervention doesn't stop with the cameras, does it?
No, not at all. He starts attending high-level production meetings. He actively pitches the producer, Ronnie Scrivala, to significantly increase the film's budget to accommodate a full Dolby Atmos audio mix.
Just casually pitching the producer.
Yeah. He argues that standard stereo sound cannot honor the reality of the soldiers. He wants the audience to feel the three-dimensional spatial chaos of combat, the exact trajectory of a bullet whizzing past your left ear.
Oh, man.
The precise rotational hum of an incoming chopper.
Wow. And then he tackles post-production, right?
He does. He hands the veteran film editor, Balu Saluja, a custom 40% file size compression algorithm.
Okay, again, for those of us who don't work in a Hollywood editing bay, why is a 40% compression algorithm such a massive deal?
Well, when you're editing a feature film, the raw video files are astronomically huge. They bog down computers, making the editing process slow and clunky.
Right.
Standard compression shrinks the file, but it degrades the image quality, making it muddy. And then utilize machine learning to create a smart focus. His code trained the computer to recognize what the human eye actually cares about.
Like faces.
Exactly. The crispness of a facial expression, the sharp clarity of a tactical movement, it preserved all of that crucial visual data at maximum 4K resolution while aggressively compressing the static, unimportant data in the background like a blank wall.
That is insane.
It achieved a massive reduction in file size with zero perceptible loss in quality. The editor told him that major post-production houses in Los Angeles would pay millions of dollars for that exact kind of proprietary software.
Okay, let's frame this reality for you listening.
Yeah.
This is like finding out that the lead singer of a rock band didn't just write the lyrics and sing the vocals.
Yeah.
Imagine finding out he also built the venue's mixing board from scratch, hand-wired the amplifiers, and wrote the software running the room's acoustic mapping.
All in his spare time.
Yes, in his spare time between sets. It defies logic. Why would an actor go to these staggering extremes?
Well, if we look closely at his motivations, it stems from a complete subordination to the story. When Aditya Dar asks him why he's pushing himself to the point of exhaustion, Anand explains that any technical compromise feels like a direct disrespect to the real soldiers who conducted the strikes.
Wow. So it wasn't about ego.
Not at all. He isn't coding to prove his intelligence. He's coding because he feels an immense weight to portray actual lived trauma accurately. Every single frame, every sound wave, every shadow on screen has to be perfect because the truth of what those men sacrificed in reality was perfect.
That is heavy. And all of this obsessive preparation, the emotional community in the briefing room, the brilliant technical wizardry, it was all building toward one ultimate test.
Oh yeah, the screening.
Right. It was time to find out if the people who actually lived this reality bought into the illusion.
And that brings us to an exclusive closed-door screening at an army facility just outside Delhi.
High stakes.
Extremely high. There's no press. There are no critics. The audience is composed entirely of military personnel. We are talking about actual 2016 surgical strike veterans, senior officers, and consultants like Captain Vikram, who initially trained the cast.
And Anant is in the room.
He is.
And he's not dressed for a red carpet.
Right.
Right. He's wearing a simple kurta and jeans. And according to the manuscript, he is absolutely terrified.
Can you blame him?
No. He knows that if these specific men reject the film, all of his algorithms and perfect takes mean absolutely nothing.
But as the lights go down and the film begins to play, the atmosphere in the auditorium becomes electric. You can physically see soldiers leaning forward during the tactical sequences, actively checking his corners and analyzing his room-clearing movements.
That's the ultimate review right there.
Yeah. And during the quiet, emotional aftermath scenes, hardened combat veterans are weeping openly. And then when the "How's the Josh" scene plays on the screen.
Oh, I love this part. The soldiers sitting in the theater actually shout, "Hi, yay, sir," back at the screen.
They do.
The psychological reality Anant built is so incredibly potent, it serves as like a time machine, pulling these men right back into their own lived memories.
But the true climax of the screening, it occurs when the credits finally roll.
Right.
The film ends in complete silence. The only sound in the room is the sound of grown men trying to compose themselves. And then Major General Arvind Kapoor, a highly decorated two-star senior officer, stands up from his seat.
Okay.
He comes to rigid attention and he does not applaud. He delivers a formal, deeply respectful military salute.
Oh, my God. And dozens of soldiers throughout the auditorium immediately stand up and follow suit. They are saluting the screen, and they're saluting Anant. And General Kapoor calls Anant down to the front of the room. He looks this 21-year-old actor in the eye and asks him directly, "Did you understand what we carry?"
What a question.
Right, and Anant answers with profound humility. He says he could never fully understand it as a civilian, but he felt the weight of it enough to know their courage is beyond imagination.
And at that moment, the general publicly salutes Anant again. We need to dissect the gravity of this for a moment for the listener.
Yes, please do. Military protocol is notoriously strict. A decorated major general formally saluting a 21-year-old civilian actor. Can you contextualize how massive a paradigm shift that is?
It's unheard of. A major general does not casually salute a civilian. It is an honor reserved for shared sacrifice, for acknowledging a peer.
Wow.
By saluting Anant, the general is confirming that Anant successfully became a vessel for their truth. He managed to capture their unseen psychological burdens and give them back their own dignity on screen.
That's incredible.
It is proof that art, when pursued with absolute unyielding purity, can cross the boundary into lived reality.
It's the ultimate validation. They secured the blessing of the armed forces. And armed with that internal confidence, the marketing team decides it is time to face the general public.
And they had no idea what was coming.
None. They take a tiny 2-minute piece of this film and release it. They're completely unaware of the digital firestorm they are about to unleash.
So it's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The trailer officially drops on YouTube. The marketing executives are expecting standard, solid engagement metrics for a mid-budget military film.
Right. They are expecting a slow burn.
What they get is an absolute explosion. The trailer hits 500,000 views within the first 60 minutes.
Whoa.
By the third hour, it crosses 2 million. By the time evening rolls around, it has surpassed 5 million views and is trending #1 across all of India.
That's wild.
And shortly after that, it rockets past 30 million views.
The internet completely fractures. You have people doing frame-by-frame analysis of Anant's micro-expressions on social media. Trade analysts are writing think pieces calling the engagement unprecedented. The media quickly dubs Anant a unicorn because he has absolutely no film industry lineage. He's a computer science genius, and they are literally labeling him the hottest soldier who's not actually a soldier.
Which is quite a title.
Right. Overnight, he goes from being an anonymous student to a national enigma.
But the contrast between this digital explosion and Anant's physical reality is striking. While the internet is obsessing over him, Ann is back at his dormitory at IIT Delhi, completely overwhelmed.
Right, his quiet campus life is just destroyed.
Essentially, yeah. He is forced into hiding. He has to rely entirely on his college theater society, Ankahi, to form a protective barrier. They are aggressively running interference against the media circus just so he can attend his classes.
The imagery of that contrast is brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, Anant did literally everything he could to disappear into the character of Vihaan Singh Shergill, and in doing so, he became the most famous face in the country.
It's such an irony.
But there's an even more powerful juxtaposition happening across the city in Chandni Chowk. Right?
Yeah, with his dad.
Yes. Anant's father, Rajesh, is at their family restaurant. A massive swarm of media and fans have descended on the place. And Rajesh is gracefully serving them chai, smiling warmly, but firmly refusing to give them any access to his son. He is acting as the ultimate shield.
It's a profoundly moving detail. The manuscript implies a deep emotional weight to Rajesh's actions here. He is watching his own abandoned artistic dreams be resurrected and perfected through his son.
Wow.
Instead of stepping into the spotlight to claim credit, he quietly serves chai. He holds on to his secret history and allows his son to completely own the triumph.
That's beautiful.
It really is. The viral success Anant achieved was not manufactured in a PR boardroom. It was built entirely on the undeniable gravity of the truth he captured. The general public felt the exact same undeniable authenticity that made a major general stand up and salute.
Well, let's pull the threads of this deep dive together. We have traced an incredible trajectory today for you guys. We started with a silent masterclass performance, relying entirely on the operational shift of a 21-year-old's nervous system. We watched him casually rewrite professional film production software in the middle of the night to protect the realism of combat. We witnessed the historic moment of a two-star general saluting a civilian. And we saw it all detonate into a 30 million view cultural firestorm that turned a quiet student into a superstar.
It is a striking reminder that true artistic impact requires both the empathy to feel someone else's reality and the mechanical discipline to build a structure that can communicate that reality to the world.
It leaves us with a fascinating paradox to consider. We've seen what Anand can achieve when his sole driving force is the egoless pursuit of artistic truth. But what happens to that kind of pure, analytical mind when it is suddenly and violently thrust into the blinding, chaotic spotlight of national superstardom? Can you remain a humble servant to the craft when the entire world is actively trying to put you on a pedestal?
That is the ultimate test of both his logic and his emotion.
It really is. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep questioning the boundaries between the analytical mind and the artistic soul. Because, as we've seen today, when those two forces finally align perfectly, the results are impossible to ignore. See you next time.